Well, good day, everybody. How's everybody doing? Welcome to another edition of the Dukes Daily. A little late in getting on with the day. Wife was at work for a bit. She come home only for about an hour. Got a bunch of things she's got to do at work again tonight. So kind of want to take a little time to talk with her while she was home. But we are on the ball now to fulfill this week's top 10, Thursday top 10, because that's what we do every Tuesday and Thursday. And again, because it's the start of the National Hockey League season, we felt to do hockey-related items to kind of, usher in the hockey season. We've been doing some of the positions of the game: center, right wing, left wing, defenseman. Today, we're going to do probably my best one, or the one that I'm most fond of, because goaltending is something I've always took an interest in. Played a little bit of goaltender as a high school student. Played a few games, not a ton. Played a few games in minor hockey. Didn't play a load of hockey. I wasn't a great skater, and pretty decent at ball hockey, floor hockey. Thought I did okay at that. Thought that if I could have ever learned to really skate, or could have been better at skating, maybe I would have pursued a little more into hockey, but not the case. But still love watching the game. It has changed over the years. Definitely our goaltending. Goaltending has definitely changed over the years, just as players have gotten bigger, stronger, faster in terms of skaters. The goaltenders have gotten bigger and quicker as well. And but for me, having watched hockey since 1975, I think I can remember, Philadelphia and Buffalo in the Stanley Cup Finals. And then the year after was when I started taking up for the Montreal Canadiens. And I know I owe Mike Keevan a story on how I went from being a Montreal fan to becoming a Bruins fan. Long story. But anyway, it did happen. So let's get to the top 10 goaltenders that I'm picking for the years that I have watched the game. I didn't get to see Sawchuk and Bauer, Jacques Plante, George Hainsworth, obviously. None of those guys did I really get to see too much. So I'm only going off of what I have watched in my lifetime. So at number 10, and again, some of these, some people probably will add to, how did you miss this guy? How did you miss that? How could you not have this one higher and lower? Well, it is what it is. These are the guys that kind of stood out to me over the years, and I'm going to try to rank them best I can. So the first one is Roberto Luongo. That's how you spell it. Roberto Luongo, Jennings Trophy winner, 1,000 plus career games, just shy of 500 wins with 489, 2.52 lifetime goals against average, and a .919 career goal save percentage. Not too shabby in numbers. One Stanley Cup appearance back in 2011 with the Vancouver Canucks against the Boston Bruins. And oh, by the way, don't mind the Edmonton Oilers thing. No, I have not become an Oilers fan, but I do live in the Edmonton area, and they're doing pretty good. So when the local team's doing well, you kind of, you like to see them do well. But end of the day, it is a Bruin for me. Luongo, yeah, I had him at number 10. There were some other ones I could have thought of. I think Curtis Joseph, Jean-Sebastien Giguère, or some other people that might have occupied that spot. But I decided to go with Luongo. At number 9 is Henrik Lundqvist. Guess I got that spelled right. Henrik Lundqvist. Vezina Trophy, Stanley Cup appearance, 15th year in the league. Just has not had the opportunity to win in New York. That's probably one of the great things about Lundqvist's career. He has hung in there with the Rangers. He may well go down as a lifer with that team. And you know what? In this day and age, there's something to be said about that. Very good goaltender, very sound. He's kept, he's been the guy that's kind of give the Rangers chances to be competitive. And there's a lot of people who are a little sentimental that they would like to see Lundqvist win a Stanley Cup before his career is over. But I don't think that's going to happen if he remains in New York. I think if I was him, I would be like Dominik Hasek. And you know what? If the opportunity comes for a trade, to where I could go to a team that has a legit chance to win a cup, I think I would take that. But for terms of our top 10, I'm going to put Lundqvist at number 9. At number 8 is Grant Fuhr. And Grant Fuhr was the goaltender of the great Oiler teams of the 1980s, 5-time Stanley Cup winner, Vezina Trophy winner, Jennings Trophy winner as well. He was the backbone of the Oiler dynasty for sure in terms of goaltending. I mean, that was a team, though. You know, they scored a lot of goals, but they gave up a lot of shots, right? And the Bruins just scored on Tampa Bay, yay! And Fuhr was, he was very acrobatic, right? He was a guy, he could stack the pads, and he was all over the place, quick, fast. And he's actually from where I live, right here in Spruce Grove, Alberta. Just down the road is the Grant Fuhr Arena. So he's pretty well known in these parts. And so anyway, I have him at number 8. It's kind of hard to leave a Stanley Cup champion off the list, especially a guy that's won 5. Some of that was with Andy Moog when he was with the Edmonton Oilers. But, Fuhr went on to play with other teams, St. Louis. I think he was in Toronto. Forget what other teams he's played for. I think he did get in with another couple there, if I'm not mistaken. So Grant Fuhr at number 8. At number 7 is battling Billy Smith. And I'll tell you another guy I almost thought about putting in for Luongo was Ron Hextall. Hextall was, he played that part of a villain. And I'm very much a person that in my sports, I like to see heroes and villains, right? You kind of like that. I love those kind of people and how they add things, to the game. Like there's a lot of people who don't like Brad Marchand, but you imagine how boring hockey would be without Marchand. Now, I know he goes overboard, like the licking stuff, that's totally uncalled for. That's not hockey. But, other things he does makes him an antagonist. And antagonists make the game, right? You got to have those guys that you want to see them get their due. Well, Ron Hextall and definitely Billy Smith, the backstop of the dynasty New York Islanders of the early 80s. 4 Stanley Cups, Vezina Trophy winner, Jennings Trophy winner, and a Conn Smythe Trophy as well for Billy Smith of one of those 4 years that they won. And, Smith was a guy notorious when he took the stick in the Stanley Cup final against the Oilers, and he cut down Gretzky when he was coming around the back of the net, trying to slow him down. Smith was a guy who, he was a villain in hockey, and he had no bones about clipping you on the side of the face, giving it to you in the back of the legs if you're in the front of the net in his way. Just hardcore, old school type goaltender. And that guy come up with big save after big save often when the Islanders were in the playoffs, and he saved their bacon many times. So Billy Smith makes number 7. Number 6 is Carey Price. And I know it's kind of hard, a guy like you have 2 other guys here who have never won a Stanley Cup. This guy's never won a Stanley Cup either, but in terms of the eye test of goaltenders I've watched over the year, I mean, at one point, Price was regarded as the best goaltender in the world. I don't know if you can say that now about him. He's getting a little long in the tooth, Carey Price. But 10 years, 12 years has he played? I know Lundqvist has played 15 years. Price maybe is not that long, but I think he's around 10. So, that's another guy a lot of people would like to see win a cup. He's had a great career. Does a lot of tremendous things off ice with kids and stuff like that. And he's just, he's one of the best today. He's still one of the best today. Any team would want Carey Price on their team, especially if you're making a run for the Stanley Cup. And he's another guy that might become a lifer like Lundqvist with the Canadians, right? And, guys that can do that, you really got to tip your cap to them and show much respect, because we don't see a lot of that loyalty in sports anymore, neither from teams to players or players to teams. It's business, totally business. But guys like this have remained with their teams, and to that I applaud them. Wouldn't mind seeing Price get a cup, but not in Montreal. Nothing personal against Montreal fans, but you can't be a Bruin fan and root for Carey Price to win a cup. That just don't click. All right. So if Price, Bruins are out of it one year, and Price has a chance to get a cup somewhere else. Great, great. I even went, actually, if he wins it with Montreal, well, he does, right? But let's hope it could work another way, okay? Number 5, we're getting into the top ones. And this guy, actually, I just read an article here. Statistically, he is the greatest goaltender of all time. But I think there's guys above him who have had longer careers, and I think you have to kind of give them those spots up here. But my boyhood idol, Ken Dryden. 2 Canadians back to back. Ken Dryden. Interesting when you look at Ken Dryden. 6 Stanley Cups, 5 Vezina trophies, Conn Smythe, Calder, and he did all of this in 8 seasons. 8 seasons. The knock against Dryden always has been, well, he played with the team that he played. He played with the greatest team that ever played, arguably, the Montreal Canadiens of the late 1970s, in which they won 4 Stanley Cups. Then the defense that they had was amazing with Robinson, Savard, Lapointe, Nyrup, guys like that were playing just a tremendous defense in front of him. But I beg to differ and argue that I think it's harder, and I think the average in that span of when he played, and I'm kind of guessing here, I'm trying to think if I read this once before, but I think on average, they were only giving up like 18 shots a game. And that's not a lot of shots for 60 minutes when you really think about it, okay? So Dryden, having to be ready. And, he's famous for that, his chin on the stick sort of thing. I mean, that is, when you see that, that is an iconic image in hockey of one of its great goaltenders, great players, great ambassadors. Very smart man, Ken Dryden, lawyer, spent some time as a member of parliament here in Canada, politicking. And I actually, kind of rooted that he would go for try to become prime minister. But maybe it was something Ken didn't want at that time. But statistically, it's proven that Dryden is the greatest of all time. And his career, I think you can kind of look at Dryden. And here's the thing: he walked away from the game because he chose to. He had enough. It didn't interest him no more. Imagine prime of your career. Only 8 seasons. If he'd have played another, we'll say 5, would Montreal have won 5 Stanley Cups back then, right? What more would he have added to his resume, right? But that we'll never know. But I do have Dryden at number 5, and just a guy that I admired as a kid for sure. Number 4. And the argument of these next 4 can kind of intertwine. I understand that. Martin Brodeur. Now I know statistically, you're going to find things that's going to speaks favorably to Brodeur. He did have a very long career. I don't know the exact years, 17, 18, maybe something like that. Calder Trophy, 4 Vezina, 2 Olympic gold medals, 3 Stanley Cups, 691 career wins, 125 career shutouts, 24 career playoff shutouts. There's no doubt Martin Brodeur could very easily hold that spot. I recognize that. I would not argue that point. To me, I think, the other 3 are just ones that stood out more to me, that really, they were fun to watch. Brodeur played in a system that was, let's be honest, it was yawning. It was just, there was no interest. Playing the trap, but you needed a good goaltender. This guy did the job. He did what was needed to be done in that system, and this is why they won 3 Stanley Cups. This is why, also, I think there was thing about Brodeur, he's the only, of these guys, he's the only guy with a 40-win season, and he did it 7 times. These other couple that I'm going to put up here never won 40 games. None of the guys underneath of him won 40 games. I didn't know that. That was interesting. I have to look that one up again, I guess. Number 3, I'm going with Dominic Hasek. One of the most unorthodox goaltenders of all time. Like this is not a guy you would do an instructional film on for goaltending. Just incredible. amazing to watch. He was fun to watch when Buffalo was on, especially when he was with Buffalo. He was really, really good, right? I mean, he had great years in Chicago. He had great years in Detroit. It's where he won Stanley Cups there. What's the deal on Hasek? 2 Stanley Cups, 6 Vezina Trophy, 2 Hart trophies back to back. Imagine, that's pretty incredible itself. For a goaltender to win the Hart Trophy is not an easy task. Gold medal at the 98 Olympics in Nagano when they pulled the upset there. And he was also part of 3 Jennings trophies. Again, the argument can be made for Hasek to be 1 and 2. Number 2. Everybody's saying, well, how in the world, who is going to be number 1? I've covered all the great ones, you say. Duke, what are you doing? How can, there's no more. Who's better than any of these guys? Well, we'll unveil that. Patrick Waugh, 4 Stanley Cups, 3 Conn Smythe, 3 Vezina, 5 Jennings trophies. Just revolutionized the goaltending butterfly style. Another big guy. Montreal's had big goaltenders. Carey Price, Ken Dryden was a big man. I wonder, people want to compare eras and stuff like this. Can you imagine Ken Dryden today with the equipment they have, right? Even imagine Waugh with the equipment, and he made adjustments to the equipment, and it's gotten even bigger since him. So imagine and Brodeur, imagine some of the numbers that these guys would have with the bigger equipment that they have today, right? Who knows? But I got Waugh at number 2. And number 1 for me, and this guy was unbelievable. He was super fun to watch, but he was from an international point of view, and I always wondered what would have happened if he could have, if he would have took over for Dryden in Montreal, what would have happened back then? And that is the Russian goaltender, Vladislav Tretiak. To me, there's nobody better than this guy. This is it. This is the Mount Rushmore of hockey goaltending with Tretiak, 10-time world champion, in which they play the world championships. That stuff matters to Europeans. We look at it and we think, well, the Stanley Cup, you don't win the cup, it don't mean nothing. No, that's not how the world looks at it, right? Sometimes we get caught in our own bubble here in North America and think our sports is it. And if you don't succeed at this or excel where we are, it doesn't matter. That's not how the rest of the world looks at it. 10 world championships is huge. 3 Olympic gold medals, right? He'd been to 4 Olympics, was there for the upset of the U.S. Olympic team at Lake Placid. He was there, played 4 Olympics, 3 gold. Canada Cup MVP in 1981. And, if you're one that likes to go on YouTube and bring up videos of games of your favorite teams and stuff like that, I would encourage you to bring up some of those Canada Cups and look at those games. The one with Gretzky and Lemieux, that probably was the greatest 3 games of hockey in hockey history. 6-5 final score, all 3 games, dramatic, high pace, high tempo hockey. But this 81 one was pretty decent too. And Tretiak had a 1.33 goals against average in 6 games against the world's best. I also remember they used to have those super series and stuff back in the 70s and that. But there was that, I forget what it was called, but they played at Madison Square Garden. It was one year, instead of an all-star game, the Red Army came and played the NHL's best, right? And they won. The Russians won that thing. I think it was 2 games, and they swept both, sort of thing. So, and Tretiak stole that show too, right? Just a phenomenal guy. 1972, he was the difference maker in that series, driving that thing to 8 games. Of course, I always argue, had Bobby Orr been healthy, a healthy Bobby Orr, which wasn't out of the realm of possibility in 72, right? But he had a bunch of knee injuries. Had he been able to play, Bobby Orr, would that series have even been that close, right? Could have, because this guy here was that good. He was that good. So to me, I mean, there's like I said, you get up to when you hit Dryden, Brodeur, Hasek, Waugh, you can argue that they could be there. And in NHL wise, I probably would have Patrick Waugh as number 1. But of course, I do have NHL goaltenders. It kind of does look a little stupid, shouldn't it? I should have top 10 all-time goalies is what it should say. Sorry for that. I'm sure somebody's picked up on it. But he is. To me, he was just incredible, and just a joy to watch play in the position in that. So anyway, guys, that is my top 10 for today. As I have said before, please feel free to comment in the comments. Give me your top 10 if you'd like. If you're coming across this channel for the first time, thanks a lot. Please hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you continue to follow us. My name's Troy Nickerson, otherwise known as the Duke. And we do Dukes Daily as part of a sideline from the Sunday Night Sports guys. We come on every Tuesday night, unless we have to make adjustments for work schedules and things like that, where we talk about the world of sports and all kinds of things. And we have a lot of fun with it. But I like doing a bit of a daily segment. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do the top 10. And I always welcome comments on it. And I appreciate the ones that I've gotten so far. Appreciate the people who do follow. And that's it for today. So anyway, everybody have yourself a great day, and we will catch you again tomorrow for the end of the week edition of Dukes Daily. Everybody have a good one, and we will catch you again then. Bye for now.